Hello everyone and welcome to Civic Platform. This is your host Zuher Almusre. Winter is a significant Canadian experience, so how can we improve it? In 2015, Edmonton hosted a unique international winter cities. This year, Winnipeg was the host of 2023 Winter Cities Shake Up. Right behind me, the hall for opening Winter Cities will start in any minute, so let's jump right in.
Welcome to Winnipeg.
The Winter City Shake-Up here in Winnipeg is a huge opportunity for the city and for the province. I have attended a number of them in the past. Obviously they were suspended during COVID, but this is an opportunity for people from winter communities to come and share ideas and learn and experience what other communities are doing. And I have said on many occasions, nobody does winter better than the city of Winnipeg and the province of Manitoba. We have a very consistent winter product, and it provides us with ample opportunity to do things that other communities can't, like the Nestaway skate trail, for example. 13,000 kilometers of snowmobiling trails. All of the programming at the Forks, which is, you know, it's phenomenal. If you were to see that in another market or in Europe, you would consider traveling to experience it. And sometimes we take it a little bit for granted because it's in our own backyard. But we are a winter city, and you can choose to try to ignore winter or you can embrace it. I choose the latter. I remember the first time I saw somebody call Winnipeg Winterpeg, and I thought, I was a little annoyed at the outset. And by the time the weekend was over after seeing it, I thought about that and said, you know, we should just brand ourselves Winterpeg. We do it better than everybody else, so why are we hiding from this? Why don't we actually take charge of it? And so this is a great opportunity for people to come from different parts of the world to share some of their experiences and ideas from different parts of Canada as well. And it does give Winnipeg a great opportunity to showcase all of its winter products. So that's the purpose of the conference. We're thrilled to be hosting it here in Winnipeg. because as I said, it should be here. Nobody does winter better than we do. Winter's probably our fastest growing tourism product. So one of the key considerations that we have is how do we attract more people in winter? We do have some phenomenal assets. We've already talked about the Forks, Fort White Alive. We have a world-class ice fishing product. So Americans flock across our border to ice fish, and which is remarkable, whether it's in on the rivers in the city of Winnipeg or whether they're fishing up in northern communities. That's a huge product. The winter has been sort of put on the back burner for too many years. I think people have been largely afraid to try to market winter to an audience, and we are now starting to see that the numbers are really ratcheting up on winter. We have great products. We have great indoor products as well. So there's, I don't know, 230 plus museums in the city, or in the province of Manitoba, and the CMHR just happens to be one of them. Add to that the Royal Aviation Museum of Western Canada, which is terrific. Go and find out the story of why that museum is in Winnipeg in the first place. The Manitoba Museum, Quomiok, there's so many of these incredible attractions that are bringing people in. The Leaf, my God, it's one of the best places to go on a cold day because you're basically going to the tropics. And so that kind of imagination is bringing people in. It's also getting Winnipeggers out to explore their own city and their own province, and Manitobans to come into the capital city to explore. So we're seeing a confluence of a lot of different levels of activity. Great ideas. You know, the pop-up restaurant is back on, it sold out in literally minutes. It's remarkable. You know, you come up with an idea that say we're going to put a pop-up restaurant on a frozen river, and we're going to bring in, you know, Michelin chefs and chefs from all over the place, and it's a remarkable experience, and we need more of them. I keep saying, let's not put up one, let's put up 5. Well, it's a lot of work, and I understand that and I appreciate that, but there's an appetite for it. And so I think that winter has, I think people have changed their opinions of winter. It may be generational. I didn't really care for winter much when I was in my 40s, but I love it now. I love what it looks like. I love what it feels like. Sure, there's cold days, but quite frankly, you can dress for that. And, you know, we've got a great balance here because our summers are spectacular. So our winters are exhilarating, our summers are amazing. You know, we're a 12-season destination now, and I'm thrilled that we've got, you know, the nerve to push winter out and say, wait a minute, it's an exhilarating time to visit. Getting collaboration amongst communities and amongst operators for a winter product is key. So that's part of the strategy, is to, you know, we've got product in different parts of the market. So you can go out into the parkland and you can go downhill skiing at Assisipi, or if you're at the Forks, you skate the Nestawaya Trail. If you want to go up to Churchill and see polar bears or the Northern Lights, that's pretty world class. There's no better place on earth to do that. So we do have pockets where we're showing great signs of winter success, but we're now starting to see more collaboration and better understanding and sharing of ideas. We're starting to see more pop-up ice fishing villages in communities like Gimli, up on Lake Athapapaskow and Flin Flon and other places. So we're starting to see that kind of collaboration happening. Travel Manitoba and Tourism Winnipeg feel that we can be a catalyst for disseminating information, which is something that we need to do. Clearly, with growth comes economic prosperity, and winter can be a big part. Our goal is to get back to pre-pandemic levels. 2019 was the best year we ever had, $1.6 billion in visitor spending in the province of Manitoba. We are virtually back to that now. We are anticipating by the end of 2023 we will be back at that number. We will probably be the first province to get back to pre-pandemic levels. We are leading the country, largely due for a couple of reasons. One, we rely less on international travel like Toronto or Vancouver. However, you know, our fly and fishing camps in Churchill saw no business when the internationals couldn't get in because of closed borders. But our long-term goal, which is a real stretch goal, sees us at $2.5 billion by the year 2030. That's a 50% increase from where we are currently. And we believe we can get there. And winter is going to be a key contributor to us seeing that. This conference is opening people's eyes to what others are doing and what others have done. It's sharing ideas. And in sharing ideas, we'll create new experiences. And the focus obviously is on winter. We do have a consistent winter product. It arrives, it stays. We get very little fluctuation in temperature, although the last few days would not be an indication of that. But typically, we have a very consistent product, so you can plan for it. So it's not, there are a lot of places that can't do a nest away skate trail because they can't control the security on the ice. Pop-up restaurants and those kinds of things. A quality ice fishing product. Cross-country ski trails all over the place. 13,000 kilometers of snowmobiling trails. And we do see Americans coming up in March because their snow is starting to melt and they're getting their last month here, both for cross-country skiing, ice fishing, and for snowmobiling. But this is an opportunity to look at winter not as a challenge, but as an opportunity. And I think what they've done, programming at the Forks, for example, Holiday Alley up in Selkirk, these are some really amazing examples, and they're everywhere across the province. But bringing everybody together, sharing ideas, sharing experiences will only enhance our winter product going forward.
I think it is really important in any industry to find a group of your peers. And so at the Forks, we do winter well. We're really well activated, but we're always looking for new ideas and learning best practices. Even this morning already, I've talked to 5 different people. We've talked about the impacts of climate change. We've talked about somebody challenging for the new Guinness Book of World Records. We've talked about a couple new ideas. And so I think it's really important for us to be able to share some of the hurdles and the stumbles and our successes and our failures with our peers, and it's also a great place for us to steal others' awesome ideas. So we have a stewardship model, a governance model that has these wide perspectives. And so we have both we have the best of both worlds in a way. We have the interest and the power of government, but we're able to be agile and nimble and do things our own way. And that's actually why we were created, because we can act fast, because we could act outside of the government machine. We could act a lot faster and be able to respond to our community in quick ways, do things like pilots that would never fly on a regular city street. We can try it on our weird little roads. Relationship with Indigenous people has been a really core of the development of the Forks since the very beginning. We've been working really closely with elders and leaders in our community to ensure that there was honest feedback and honest direction coming before moves were made. So, the consultation is ongoing and regular, and it's really embedded in how in our decision-making process. The Forks has been, there's physical evidence. Every time we put a shovel in the ground, something interesting comes up from the past. So it could be, an arrowhead from thousands of years ago. It could be a leather jacket from the fur trade area. But archaeology is really important to us. It helps inform the story of the Forks. And it helps inform the story of Winnipeg and Canada. And so we do that in lockstep with Indigenous communities. We trust oral history, we trust physical history, and we love it when the two come together. So we do engage regularly. It's built into our systems. So, as the Forks has a super long hold period. We intend to be the stewards of this land for as long as the land will have us, and we hope that is forever. And so, in all the decisions that we make when we're building, when we're designing, we're looking at the long view. We're looking at the 7 generations model. We're looking at building the place not for today, but we're looking at building it for 7 generations into the future. And so, when we're building things, we are looking at environmental impact. Both on the land, so as to not disturb the stories of the past, but also to ensure that our riverbanks are preserved, that we're not doing things that are going to be degrading the riverbanks, that we're going to be doing things that are going to be preserving them. Yeah, the Forks has been an interesting story. The ownership of the land was, in the late 80s, early 90s is when the ownership was transferred to the Forks. And at that time, it was pretty much a surface parking lot, and very slowly we have been developing the area. So it's been a really interesting and slow evolution, which has enabled us to be responsive to what the community actually needs, and it has ensured that we haven't just built something and stuck it in the 80s, and that's what we're stuck with today. So we have some space, we have some time to be able to do things well. So we're excited about the next step of the Forks, which will be the integration of residential on site. So later this year, we're hoping to be in the ground with 10 residential buildings. So that'll change the dynamic, and I think it'll help change the dynamic of Winnipeg as a downtown destination, not just for work and play, but also for living. We already have tens of thousands of residents who live downtown, and I truly think that residential downtown is going to be our future. So Railside at the Forks will be a really good project to be able to start us on that path of momentum to having more people considering downtown as the place to live. I think it's kind of a two-pronged approach. One, I think that it forces Winnipeg and organizations like the Forks not to build ourselves for tourists, but to build ourselves for locals. And I think that when you build something for locals, what you're building is actually reflective of the culture and community that's here. And if it's engaging for locals, they're the ones who are going to share the good word of tourism. They'll share it with their friends and their family, and when people come for for a wedding or they come for a conference, they'll stick around a couple of days because they've heard of all these incredible things that happen in Winnipeg. So I think that's one thing, is to not design our assets to be for tourists, but to design them for the people who are here and who are passing through. And the second thing, I think, it's been really interesting to me, like as the airport question, it's been really interesting to me to see, direct flights come and go. And so I think that from a tourism standpoint, that there does need to be some stimulation and some investment into the air travel. And we've seen it recently with the flight to LA. It was really spurred by the film community, but as a result, it enables this direct connection into America that we've lost over the pandemic.
My name is Natalie Thiessen, Vice President at Tourism Winnipeg and also co-chair of the Winter Cities Shake-Up Conference with Travel Manitoba. So today we have an exciting program from Chris Turner, How to Be a Climate Optimist, to a great innovative partnership with travel company Frontiers North and EV tech innovators at Red River College to breakout sessions regarding lighting on Main Street projects, to as well as we had our CEO. We're going to have a CEO from the Forks, Sara Stasiuk, who's going to talk about the art and science of winter. So full day of programming, and also we're going to have some tours this afternoon, Snowfest at the Forks, and also a tour of the Human Rights Museum. We're just about to hear from Chris Turner, who's won National Business Book Awards and who's written a number of books around climate change, innovation, and about how to be a climate optimist. And so he's going to speak to how technology and sort of the rapid pace in terms of places and governments are looking at the climate impact of their cities and how they're going to evolve, especially from a winter cities context. And I hope that we'll hear some of the behavioral changes that are required for people that live in these winter city communities to adapt to some of these new behavioral changes. What we hope for delegates to leave here today is to be inspired, to think differently about the places where they're from and their organizations, of how they can create more advocates in winter cities, and also to bring home some best practices on perhaps how they can bring, even if it's a small idea to their workplace. So it's really important for Winnipeg to host this conference. We own winter. We are Winterpeg. We celebrate winter. We have winter multiple months of the year, and so this conference needed to be here to allow us to continue to develop our winter strategy, to look ahead in how we are going to grow winter tourism visitation, to showcase how we celebrate and promote winter activities here in Winnipeg, and hopefully look to make improvements. There'll be opportunities to connect with city officials and departments to look at how do we make sure that we're accessible to more people in the winter months, especially for recreation, which can be really challenging for mobility, and also access, not just from a mobility perspective, but access to a variety of individuals who might not, maybe for newcomers who are experiencing winter for the first time in Winnipeg. So I think it'll spark a lot of conversations and hopefully some actions as we look to plan for the future.
My name is Chris Turner. I'm an author and journalist and strategist. I work on climate solutions and the global energy transition. I live in Calgary, Alberta. I was happy to be invited to speak at Winter Cities. I'd heard about the Winter Cities conferences previously. I think it's a great conversation to be having, and the climate crisis aspect of it, I'm really happy I was able to speak to, and that it was included, because obviously as we start thinking about how do we make our cities more welcoming and more resilient in winter, we need to be thinking about how we also reduce emissions and make them better. And I was happy to provide some perspective on that from winter cities around the world. I think that the main challenge for Canadian cities like Winnipeg, there's a couple of them. There's a little bit of its perception. Part of it is just that we historically in Canada have had very cheap, very abundant energy, and so it hasn't been something we've had to think about a lot. I think we're getting much better at it. We recognize the need to reduce emissions. In a city like Winnipeg, in Manitoba generally, you begin from a very, very clean grid, mainly hydro, almost exclusively hydro, which means that a lot of the energy transition solutions that I was talking about are already ready to go here. You don't have to begin by trying to decarbonize a grid, which can be a very hard thing to do. You begin from already a very clean grid. I think this is just the overarching project of this century, or at least the first half of this century, is reducing our emissions to as close to zero as possible, as fast as possible, and finding ways to do that are not just about cutting emissions, but making cities better. I think is an incredibly important part of that mission. Today, I will be talking mainly about my new book, How to Be a Climate Optimist. Came out last year from Random House, and it is sort of a survey of the 20 years I've spent looking for climate solutions, putting them together, I think, into a picture of a much better world and a future, really worth getting excited about, and being really optimistic about where we're heading as we really, I think, begin to turn the corner on solving the climate crisis. Yeah, my hope today is that you would leave this talk feeling like there is real reason for optimism about reducing greenhouse gas emissions, building better cities, building cities that are more welcoming to winter activities. That all of this points to better ways of doing things, and a real opportunity for us all to make some positive changes.
I'm Curtis Ross. I'm the CEO and Chief Development Officer for the Thompson Regional Airport Authority. I'm also involved in the newest winter weather testing campus up in Thompson, Manitoba. I'll be speaking about that today at the conference here. Great opportunity for that. Plus, we are also kind of introducing people to Sub-Zero and what Sub-Zero is, and how that relates to everything that we do with winter weather testing up in Thompson, Manitoba. It's the difference of it's more of a tourism aspect to it, right? If you're bringing people in, today here we are located in the Hotel Fort Garry. So it's for conferences, it's for tourism, it's for economic opportunities. Those same people that may come to here may go further. If they go see the polar bears in a zoo in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and then they find out that they can go see them in real time in their natural habitat in Churchill, might be inclined now to take the train or the plane and fly with one of our key sponsors here, Comair, up to Churchill and see that. Like, it's a connectivity of how we get people to understand you're not just stuck in your house at wintertime. There's all these opportunities out there, We have a wonderful, dynamic province here from end to end. I mean, you can go from prairies to polar bears, you can watch whales up in northern Manitoba and bird watching, or you can go down to southern Manitoba, around the Morden area and see dinosaurs being pulled out of the ground. I mean, the opportunities of what you have in your own province, explore it from end to end. Too often we're looking for that other place to go, and it's right here. Well, it's kind of, again, like I said, it's a little different presentation than what's been given here. I think it's been built around the tourism and activity. Will be a little bit more of an economic development slant on what we do up in northern Manitoba, but I think it's just to introduce people. If people hear about winter weather testing, it's an industry. We're just going to explain to people what it is we do, how we do it. We hopefully take that message and pass it on to some industry partners, and also to talk about our regional airport authority and the importance to northern Manitoba and what that connection and that link to southern Manitoba is. And we heard some of the speakers today talk about like the polar bears in the zoo, and that's the journey to Churchill, which comes through northern Manitoba. So there's ties between northern and southern Manitoba, from both tourism and economic perspectives, and that's kind of really what we're going to try and link today for them. Yeah, no, and I mean that's the beauty of northern Manitoba. You'll hear a common story, and I'll talk about it a bit today, that people go up for 2 years to northern Manitoba where it seems extremely cold, and it is, but it's extremely fun. We have beautiful lakes, that are good for both the summer and the winter. Like there's ice fishing and there's snowmobiling, and there's downhill. We have a ski hill, one of the only ski hills left in Manitoba. There's a couple of them here, but we have a ski hill in Manitoba. So from a winter sports perspective and embracing the cold, anybody that's moved up to northern Manitoba have moved up there for that reason. And we have it's a huge population growth within our Asian communities up there. So they're business owners, they've embraced it, their families are there, generations of families are there now. Everybody thought of Thompson as kind of just the mining community and the indigenous communities surrounding us, but it's grown, it's much more dynamic than that now. And we're seeing that more and more every year. Oh, I think it's tremendous. I mean, I was listening to the presenters here today, and I think they've hit a lot of key points. It's how you embrace that winter and the activities that are around it. I think Winnipeg in general has done a tremendous job in the last 10 to 15 years in enhancing the activities such as the Forks and the Festival de Voyageurs. And I believe there's, like they were mentioning today, it's the zoo. There's untapped potential for families to enjoy indoor and outdoor activities in the winter in Manitoba.
My name is Jeff Mayo. I'm the Senior Director of Regional Spa Operations for Groupe Nordique, also the General Manager of Thermea Spa here in Winnipeg. I'm here at the Winter City Shake-Up to discuss thermotherapy in winter. So that's the thermal cycle. It's a 2,000-year-old Nordic tradition that is rooted in Scandinavian culture. And it's a cycle of hot, cold, followed by relax, which releases endorphins, promotes a general sense of well-being, and why it's a great fit for Winter City. Quite often when we think of winter, we spend a lot of our time inside the house, trying to stay warm. We don't necessarily go out to friends. We're not spending as much time as we would, sitting on a patio in summer. Something like thermotherapy allows you to get out, have an activity to do that is, probably about 60% outdoors. It allows you to connect with others and with yourself. So this afternoon I'm presenting with Nick Dembski and Adam Pulse on various reasons why winter cities are a great place to live. What I really want people to take home from my session, part of the session today, is really an understanding of why engaging in an activity such as thermotherapy is great not only for their health, but also their well-being and mental well-being. So my message to newcomers would be to really reach out to members of your community, talk to your neighbors, and ask them about the winter and about what they do and what type of activities they engage in. And I can guarantee in Winnipeg or other winter cities, you're going to find people that are very willing to share their experiences with you and help guide you to the right experience for you.
I'm Shirley Muir. I'm a volunteer in my hometown of Selkirk, Manitoba, where I volunteer for a project called Holiday Alley. In my day job, I'm the president of the PR house, so the skill sets we bring to the table at my company is to help brand and do all the communications and planning for Holiday Alley, which is a winter festival in Selkirk, Manitoba. Today's workshop here at the Winter Cities Conference in Winnipeg is 10 tips on how to build an amazing award-winning winter festival. And it's come from 10 years of hard labor where we've made some mistakes, but we've learned lots of things. These are tools and tips that any small community can take away and turn into an amazing festival for their community. We're doing this because we know that this is really about creating community, and all across this country there are other communities like Selkirk, Manitoba that have opportunities to invigorate and energize and engage their community, and we thought it might be helpful if we shared some of our experience. I think what's interesting about Holiday Alley is we have a huge commitment around diversity. So we make sure, as best as we can, that we include people from all over the place. I'll give you one example. Like 33% of folks in Selkirk identify as Indigenous, so it actually comes kind of natural for us to make sure the Indigenous community is fully engaged. But what we've noticed recently is we have a much larger East Indian community moving into Selkirk. And so this year, part of our goal and mandate is how do we get them engaged so they own a piece of Holiday Alley. And that's going to be true for communities across this country. You just have to look through your community, pay attention to who's come to your community, who's moving there, who's buying businesses, who's shopping in the grocery stores, and ask yourself, these are folks I've not met before. I'm going to introduce myself, I'm going to welcome them, and ask them, how would you like to be involved in this festival? Is there something here you'd like to own? Because my experience is people step up and say, yeah, thank you, I do want to be involved. As a newcomer, and I'm not a newcomer, but here's what I want to suggest. You have traveled a great distance and left behind perhaps all kinds of fabulous things in your life. It must have taken incredible, incredible courage to do that. And to be part of your new community, I would suggest you just have one more courageous step and step into these projects. Arrive at meetings, call organizations and say, I want to be involved. And I can almost guarantee you people are going to say, yes, thank you, welcome. It's taken a lot of courage, and I think as Canadians we recognize that newcomers here have really done amazing things to get this far, and I think it maybe just one more little piece of courage is required to just step up and say to your new community, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is how I want to be involved here. And I'm going to guess you're going to be welcomed, because I know I would welcome you. Today we went through 10 different tips about how to create an amazing winter festival. If I could leave people with one most important thing, is community engagement, which I think is exactly speaking to some of the questions we're addressing here right now. It's really important for festivals and organizations to survive is that they really are rooted in the community. So you have to hold meetings, invite people, work hard to find out who's moved to your community. If there was one tip I would leave communities, it's step out there and really understand who's in your community and invite them to be involved.
So my name is Shannon Lowen. I'm a landscape architect with HTFC Planning and Design, and I'm moderating today's talk on cold climate design and construction. Today's speakers will be talking about the design and construction of the Leaf Building in Assiniboine Park, some of the challenges and opportunities that they found in building a state-of-the-art, world-class building that houses plants and knowledge and inhabits people's stories on what plants mean to them in their cultures and in their worlds. The four speakers, today's four panelists, are Mitch Hall, who is an architect and partner with KPMB in Toronto, Lee McCormick, who is an architect and the managing partner with Architecture 49 here in Winnipeg, David Bowick, who's a structural engineer and principal at Blackwell, and Monica Giesbrecht, who's a landscape architect and managing principal at HTFC Planning and Design. In Winnipeg winters, we don't get to see the color green very often. Our palette is gray and brown and a lot of white, and we've been bringing in sparkly items and lights to try and boost our kind of mental health and give us some visual interest. The construction of this building allows people to immerse themselves in a sea of green and plants and life, and in the dead of winter kind of get that vitamin D boost. And so it's really a great opportunity for people to kind of take a break from the harsh reality of our climate and our winters, and to kind of get out and move past that cold, harsh climate. Yeah, so that's a very loaded question. Some of the challenges of living in a wintered city is it's been well documented that SAD, or seasonal affective disorder, which affects a lot of people with depression and mental health issues, because they don't have access to enough vitamin D. They're staying inside. The sun rises really late, sets really early, so we don't have an access to a lot of light throughout the winter months, and it affects a lot of people. And having that kind of break throughout the winter it really helps mental disorders. It helps people kind of refresh and rejuvenate. A lot of people in Winnipeg are what we call snowbirds, and they leave the city and they go to a warmer climate in the dead of winter, and this just allows more access for people who aren't able to leave the city, who are here all year round, to be able to kind of tap into some of those benefits of kind of that rejuvenation of light and smell and plants and, you know, connection back to the earth. That is really important. So it just kind of breaks down that barrier for accessibility for a lot of people. The plants that are featured in the building are plants that aren't native to Manitoba, and they aren't native to Winnipeggers. They're from all across the world. And so it's an opportunity for people to move into a space where they may see plants that are recognizable to them and recognizable from their, you know, home country, things that they can connect with and see that and share those stories and tell those stories around, you know, impacts around these plants that had on their lives back home, and just have a little piece of home back here in Winnipeg. So it's an opportunity for people to connect and kind of feel and share right here in Winnipeg. I think the takeaway here is that it's a place of happiness, and it's a place of celebration and excitement, and it's an opportunity to kind of see the joy, or bring the joy back into the middle of winter, to appreciate it and experience it. And I think it's a really great opportunity for everybody to kind of take what they want from it and you know, share those stories with even younger generations. And I think it's just a really happy place to be.
Hi, my name is Monica. I am a partner at HTFC Planning and Design. We're a Manitoba and Western Canada based landscape architecture and urban design firm. And on this project, I was the lead site master planner and landscape architect. So I moved to Canada from a place that didn't have the kind of winter Winnipeg does. And so it was a real adjustment as an immigrant to get used to winter in Canada. But I've been here a long time now. I've been here 30 years. And I discovered a long time ago that the best way to embrace life in Winnipeg is to love winter, to dress properly and love winter. And so I'm here today kind of talking about the Leaf and the project we did, because it really helps people from all over the world who move to Winnipeg learn about winter, learn about that in an environment where they can go inside and be close to plants maybe that they would have in their homeland, and then learn about plants outside, and kind of learn about outdoor weather and the way we live in Canada through the project we did. So the building just opened, so the Assiniboine Park Conservancy is just settling in. But the building is designed so that you can really participate in outdoor activities in small bursts. It's kind of getting used to it. But one of the things that they're planning to do is do classes, things on outdoor survival, things on outdoor gear, things on winter activities that you might not know when you move here, how to snowshoe, how to toboggan, how to skate, in really kind of friendly and approachable environment. With lots of people who also don't know how to do that yet. So it's a very social activity that is going to help newcomers settle and kind of learn the fun things they can do here, especially in the winter. So inside, the Leaf is really designed as a oasis, especially made for winter. And so the hope in the winter is that you're going there to get your green plant fix, humidity, sunlight, sunshine in the plus 30 degree weather that many people miss in the middle of winter who can't go somewhere exotic. But in addition to that, there's lots of chances to have intercultural exchange. So things like cooking demonstrations from various groups. The Assiniboine Park Conservancies worked really closely with Folklorama and with various cultural groups in the community. And they will be starting a program where they will probably pick a plant or a group of plants every few months that they invite newcomers who actually know are from that part of the world, from like say a tropical or a Mediterranean or environment, to come and demonstrate how the plant grows, what its purpose is, what it can be made into, how you can use it, and kind of really invite that kind of social exchange. There's food programs, there's education programs tied to Manitoba Education for little kids, so tours and programming specifically dedicated to kids. And then they have a special seniors program so that you can come during the week, especially when it's a little quieter, to just wander around and kind of be somewhere warm and hang out when, you know, it's minus 30. My final winter message for you today is that when it's too hot, because I don't like the heat, you cannot help it, right? You're just too hot. When it's too cold, you can always just put on another layer. So if you dress right, winter is the most amazing thing in Winnipeg.
We reached the end of our episode. Thank you for watching. If you like this episode, please like, share, and subscribe, and wait for a new episode from Civic Platform.